Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Mousetrap Podcast, a very special episode, live, raw, instant reaction to the startup draft for the F It We Ball Sleeper Belicheeks League. Can't exactly remember the name.
Dynasty. Got Dynasty in there.
Dynasty, tight end premium, all that good
Tight
stuff.
end premium.
This wrapped up like the first 7 rounds, like 30, 45 minutes ago. So this is about as real and as raw as it gets. Isaac, anything to
Mhm.
say before we jump in?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I think we have a couple of duds on our draft board, but a couple of studs as well.
Hmm.
So
And we're gonna go through every team, so you'll get your team talked about. Don't you worry.
don't even worry about it. All right.
That's pretty self-explanatory. We'll go over the trades that have happened since our last episode as well. One that went through during the football draft, but this will mostly be a football episode.
Right. Right. All right. So let's take a look at our
Yeah, so big draft
this is
board.
the
I
overall.
apologize, TJ. Your team is cut off, and it will be that way until like we get to maybe Logan's team. So I apologize. You know who's on your roster. Anything, Isaac, before we go team by team, anything just jump out here right away, or anything about
Um
draft experience maybe that comes to mind?
well for me the two things that jump out are mad respect to Evan. He's not always the most involved with these sort of things, but even though he couldn't be on Zoom, he still is pretty active in drafting. And even though he's not super familiar, also really appreciated his sportsmanship there. And then on the flip side, Tyler Chitty not responding to the chat after we've spent days setting up this time to have us force him on the auto pick to say my beat and then proceed to not elaborate, not join the Zoom. That seemed the exact opposite, but.
Yeah, he said something funny in the chat. I can't remember that. I was like, "Oh, that was nice." But yeah, you wish you would have been present. Zoom was a lot of fun. Shout out Tucker for discovering virtual backgrounds and effects. We played with that.
Mhm.
Shout out Charlie for discovering the drawing board. But enough about the
Chitty,
Zoom. We don't do the tweets in the
Just Chitty
Zoom.
would have been a G in the Zoom because it's a perfect ad lib environment. He would have
Oh
been
yeah,
hitting his "It's lit, let's go, Livy Duns." It would have been really, really exceptional.
it would have been. We can only dream, truly.
Oh, my dream. All right.
On to the team by team. Um, do you talk about your team first? Is that bad form? I mean, it's an interesting squad here.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about one thing that was interesting. I thought is Grant was getting a lot of love for having the young team, but I don't have a player on my team over the age of 24. Uh, Going young as well. A couple of risks in the Tyler Warren, JJ McCarthy there, RJ Harvey as well, but just kind of curious to see where it goes. I like having young guys. This gives
Yeah.
you
How old is
flexibility.
George Pickens? Do you know off the top?
He's 24.
That's surprising to me. Yeah, I mean, it feels risky, but I think it's just because these guys haven't played before, like McCarthy, and then obviously the other two in that stretch are rookies. So that's an interesting
Mhm.
stretch there. Could boom or bust, but at the very least, you have Jaden Daniels, good quarterback play, most likely for the next 10 years or more. So
Hopefully, yeah.
you feel good about that? Yeah, it's a young team, very boom or bust, I would say.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to.
Aussie Davis was catching some flack during this draft. I think that was more of a bit than anything. I don't really hate his team at all, though he did go with a very interesting strategy here.
I think the three quarterbacks is just. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's interesting. I get the appeal of Cam Ward. He feels like a potential star right there at the 411. That feels like good value. Again, not loving the CJ Stroud live. I did say, I would not have taken CJ Stroud at that pick. He easily could have gotten him at the 3-2. Got one of those stud wide receivers instead. But I like Bucky Irving. Lamar, of course, is just an elite fantasy asset, always will be. And so I don't hate it. But certainly I would say on the lower end, at least in my opinion, of drafts that we've seen so far. But
Yeah, it won't be a
he may
huge
hit big in some later rounds.
It won't be a huge problem for Austin, I don't think. There's other guys I would be more worried about with this team. This forces you, I think, to be active because you're almost going to have to trade one of these quarterbacks. Like,
Hmm.
otherwise, I don't really see the point. Like, what you have Cam Ward for 2 weeks out of the year. That's just not worth a fourth round pick when you're
Right,
guy. So I
right.
think you do this if you're looking to trade. And I mean, you could get good value for one of these guys, but it's going to force Austin to be active. Highly
Yeah,
doubt his team will look like this at the end of the year and excited to see what he
so
does.
that's a really good point. I think like in the trade partner with Charlie there, his quarterback room is a little weak, or maybe even T. Crom as well.
I see at least one team that only has one quarterback, so potential trade partner.
PJ. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to James Nixon here.
Yeah, shout out Will. Was a good time in the Zoom. Didn't join the second Zoom for reasons unknown, but I was impressed he joined the first one. Was really thoughtful with me and talking through basketball trades tonight. Quarterback first two rounds. What do you see from him here?
I kind of love the dual quarterbacks. I think I love in a way that he has the best quarterback position group out of anyone. I think these are two studs, guys with rushing upside, guys with a lot of years ahead of them. A-Chain and Williams, I like as your running backs. I think you do have to worry a little bit with injuries with A-Chain. But one thing I don't like is his wide receiver room. I think wide receivers hold a lot of value in fantasy because they're going to be good for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So rocking Jordan Addison and Golden. Addison, who may miss some time with his DUI, and Golden, who's a rookie, who knows what he's going to look like. I think that could really be a position of need for Nixon moving forward.
Also feels kind of boomer bust, like you said, with obviously Golden being young, Addison stuff, A Chain's injuries. I like the quarterbacks as well. At first, I was kind of like, ooh, those kind of feel like two different timelines. But Josh Allen is so good, he'll probably play just as long as Bo Nix. I mean, he's got many, many years ahead of him. So
Right,
it is a great quarterback group. He's just got to build around it. And like you said, I'm not sure how much he did that, but there's some intriguing pieces for sure.
for sure, for sure. All right, Big Char.
I really
I
liked
like.
this team as he was drafting it. What do you think?
Mhm. I love those first two. Again, big fan of wide receivers here. JJ, of course, is going to be insane. Lad had a great year, looking to move on. I don't love Jonathan Taylor. I get he's still kind of young. I just in that cult system. Um, he's had some injury issues. I just don't think he's quite the same JT that broke out on the fantasy scene a couple of years ago. The same with Brees. I'm just questioning. He doesn't really have a contract. Is he going to be this sort of weird free agent guy next summer where everyone's like, oh, well, he's good, but no one's to pay him because the running back market is broke. So I don't love that, nor do I love the Justin Fields pick. But I think for this year, it's a really solid team. I just don't necessarily love it moving forward with some of those picks.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think Charlie is probably my top three for winning it this year. Obviously, the receivers are studs. And if Brees Hall and Jonathan Taylor can give him 1 year, I think he can win the entire league. But it
Mhm.
is going to be an odd situation going forward with, like you say, obviously we know about those running backs. Justin Fields, like, is he going to start for multiple years?
Right.
I'm not really sure. Purdy's fine. It feels really good for this year. It's going to be odd going forward, but I mean, you have Justin Jefferson, Lad McConkey, Brees Hall this year. You're going to be
Right.
pretty good.
I do think that Jamison Williams pick could be a steal. He's only 24, very much like a speed threat guy in the Lions offense that might be looking to take the top off a little more. He could be really valuable.
Drafted right before the guy who will be throwing him the ball, or maybe right
Mm.
after. I
Right
don't know.
after, yeah.
Right after.
Yeah, I'll let you go
I've got an
first here.
odd team here. I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I love again the wide receiver stack right there. I'm high on Drake London. I think Jamar, as much as I hate to say it, as a Vikings guy, just has a little bit more value right now, being a year younger than JJ. Higher points last year. I just think Jamar is a bit of a better fantasy asset, so I like him there throwing four. Drake London, I think, is a stud at 23. Caleb Williams, I'm not quite as high on him as some other people are. I think Ben Johnson's going to help that offense, and they've got a lot of weapons, but um, I don't know. I just don't know if he's quite going to take this second year leap everyone expects. CMC and Hill, of course, are risky. I think you sort of have a two timeline approach going on, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I guess kind of the brief rationale here. It is a strange team. Obviously, two receivers speak for themselves. Caleb Williams, even if he doesn't break out, I saw that he was QB 16 last year, which is
Mm,
not great, but with just how questionable that offense was, first year, bad head coach, if he can get up to top 10 with Ben Johnson and keep that for many years, I don't need him to be the best quarterback in the league. I just like
true.
having that quarterback slot covered for many years to come. And then I decided in round five that I wanted to compete this year. That was exactly when I made that decision. So I just try to get guys who will give me a lot of points. Hopefully, if those guys can stay healthy, I'll have a tough team this year with a bunch of studs and then obviously the two receivers. But that was a decision I made halfway through, so might have been kind of rash. We'll see how it goes.
You got the Golf Laporta stack, especially in the tight end premium. That could be really valuable.
I'm really hoping for Laporta to bounce back. I really am.
Yeah. All right. The
The
Unction,
only one I
accurately
put in a
titled.
title for, because this team is just they're all the same. I don't know. What do you take from it?
It looks auto pick to me, which a lot of it was. So I think he's gonna have an elite team here. But I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 years we're looking at Chitty as just a dumpster fire of a franchise.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 years we're looking in I'm gonna say 4 years, if this is still around, we're looking at Chitty being totally unengaged and thinking about leaving the league. It's gonna be a tough situation. I think, I mean, he's a huge contender this year, no question. Like all these guys are
Right.
really, really good football players. But it's just a really old roster, and do I trust Chitty to navigate that? Oklahoma City Thunder were tearing down Paul George, and yeah, I really don't. If he proves me wrong, I'll shake his hand and be happy for him. But
Um,
it's
One
a
thing
tough
that
situation for him.
one thing that does scare me though is if he gets on a dynasty fantasy football TikTok, he might become a monster. He's going to be absorbing so much information every day.
That's true.
Um,
That's true. He loves his TikToks, and again, it's going to be a great team this year. Just how will it look in five? I guess he's chosen his priorities.
yes. Guys, look at Logan. I'm
Yeah.
really high on Logan's team. I wasn't really paying attention as I was drafting, but as I was reviewing it, considering he doesn't really follow football at all. I like his team both in terms of its ability to compete this year, but also kind of its long-term outlook. I think Hertz has got a number of years of valuable play. Amon-Ra, Nico, of course, and Jacobs and Hubbard, RB1s who aren't as old as you think. Jacob feels like he should be like 29, 30. He's 27. Hubbard is 26. He just had a great year last year. Tucker Kraft is 24. So I really like his team. I think if Kyler has the year that everyone feels like Kyler could have as a dual threat quarterback, I think Logan could make a run for the crown.
Yeah, I think that first four is like it might be the best first four rounds of anyone. Like two quarterbacks who are going to put up good fantasy numbers, most likely. We know Jalen Hurts will, and two great receivers. It's a great first four, and then his running back situation isn't great, but it's not as like as I would expect for being in rounds 5 and 6. Like they're fine running backs who are top of their offense, like you said. It's a good team, like you said, for a guy who doesn't follow football, just like the guy right after him. We have two back to back there that aren't big football guys.
Right. So let's take a look at EJPJ here.
It's an interesting team. I mean, Brock Bowers first round. Obviously, no one else took a tight end first round, so it's structured very differently from a lot of other
Mhm.
people's teams. What do you see here?
Yeah, well, it's certainly tough. I mean, you at a point you have to grab Brock. He's just the highest value player at that pick. But it is tough to build a team around the tight end like that because it just sets everything back. I don't love taking a quarterback in round two. I think if you're going to grab a tight end that early, you just have to accept some middling quarterbacks. You got to rock a Jared Goff and a Baker Mayfield and just run it, and maybe get some wide receiver value or some running back value. Although I am a fan of his wide receiver room, overall, Garrett Wilson, Odunze, Worthy, I think are solid guys that could have great years next year. But overall,
Yeah.
not a huge fan, but a good long-term outlook, I'll say. Outside of Patty, most of his team is probably 26 or younger. So,
Yeah, it's an odd team that I wouldn't necessarily want to mess with just because I'm like, what exactly do you do here? But obviously, some great pieces. It does make me feel really good. I know that this is recency bias because Mahomes was just okay last year. Makes me feel really good that I got Jared Goff in the sixth and he got Mahomes in the second. I don't know that they're going to be that wildly different of fantasy players.
mhm,
But
yeah,
it's an interesting team, just very different from a lot of others. And obviously, I mean, in tight end premium, Brock Bowers is freaking stud. So that's a good pick there.
right. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking, not to dive too much in depth. I'm thinking if he grabs like Amon-Ra instead of Mahomes and then gets like Baker instead of Odunze or something, I would feel a lot better about this team. Um,
I
I
do
really, I
feel like
really
Amon
don't love.
Ra would have been a better pick there. I'm curious where they were ranked in the sleeper auto thing.
Yeah, I'd be curious as well. I don't love Patty there to two. I don't think the Chiefs roster set up in a way for him to put up high production fantasy value, even though of course he is the best quarterback in the league above and away. Just maybe not in a fantasy context.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
Let's look at Jersey, the commish here.
Kamish was looking absolutely fire in the Zoom as this like omniscient polar bear above the stars. It really gave off a commissioner aura that I really appreciated. But did he do that well in the draft as he did with his Zoom background? Isaac, what do you think?
I think it all depends on the play of Drake May. I think if Drake May does what people think he can do as a kind of bolster the offense, I think we're looking at a really elite team for years to come. But if Drake May kind of whatever, then this team falls apart really fast. With T Law not being a quarterback I trust, um, Rasheed Rice and Vontae Smith not being the strongest wide receiver room. Neither of those guys have really put up wide receiver one numbers. They are bona fide wide receiver twos. And then James Cook seems just kind of a short timeline guy. He seems like that classic running back who comes into a system, does well, contract ends up, wants a lot of money. He's not going to get it. He's going to be in the free agent market. So I think, yeah, it just hinges on how quickly can Drake May become a household name.
Yeah, I think it depends on rounds 2 and 3. You mentioned three. Trey McBride picked high for a tight end. Not saying it's a bad pick, just you need him to play well for that draft slot. I think the receivers are fine for rounds 4 and 6. Not wide
Right,
receiver ones, like you said, but you hope, like you say, you hope the two guys that you picked ahead of them can make up for it. We
right.
will see.
Yeah, I like Rasheed Rice. I think he could explode with Patrick in a healthy year.
Most reactions of any pick, Rasheed Rice. The
Mm,
fans really love that one.
hype pick.
Justin Herbert was close for some reason.
T. Crom's team, for a second, I thought we were about to see T. Crom win in both leagues 'cause I think he has the best team in basketball. And Neighbors and CD was looking dominant. But I really don't love the Herbert pick. I just don't think he's enough better than even a Jared Goff or a Trevor Lawrence to warrant being picked that many rounds ahead whenever he could have grabbed Amar. Like if he grabs Amar and Hampton there, then we're looking at a dynasty for years to come. But instead, Herbert, just not a huge fan of it. But other than that, I really like a lot of what I'm seeing here. I think Tucker's team is going to be really solid.
I think the team is very versatile. Like I don't think he has a super weak position.
Right,
His running backs aren't great, but he got three of them who like you can make arguments for. His quarterbacks like are fine. They're gonna play. They're gonna put up decent numbers. Obviously, the receivers are outstanding. Hawkinson's a fine tight end. It's a very well-rounded team that I think could compete somewhat this year. Obviously, CD's great. It's very well rounded. I think there's picks he could have made better, but I like what Tucker did.
yeah, I do too.
I
Crazy
love that
Grant.
Sleeper did this. Can I just say it did the like diagonal to really show us what exactly this looks like. So this is Team Grant, not Team TJ.
Right, good call out. Yeah, again, Grant's got a lot of acclaim for how young his team is. And on paper, it certainly seems appealing. If you were to put this in like a 2K trade generator, he'd have the most stars, I think, on his team in terms of trade value. But I just wonder, it's a lot of rookies that you never know. Is Genty going to be what everyone is he going to be worth a first round pick, or is he going to be kind of take a while to get used to the NFL? Marion Hampton again, another guy. Tet, Guka and Burden look like guys who are going to be stashed on rosters, not really play so much this first year. So I think Grant is gearing up for like a 2027, 2028 season. And so I like his team, but I don't expect much noise out of him.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I didn't really think about that. Like young does not necessarily equal good. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire would have been picked where Ginty's getting picked. Ginty, I don't know why I said Ginty. Clyde Edwards-Helaire would have been in that slot. So, maybe four of these guys hit, maybe five, and then how many are hitting from other teams? It's risky for sure. Like I see what he's doing, but I didn't really think of it in that light. There are gonna be some busts, and can he navigate around that?
I think in a year, if we look back at this draft, I think the team that we'll have the strongest opinions on will be Grant. We'll either say, man, how did we let him get away with this? This is insane. Or we'll say, man, he really sold himself here. He really sold himself. So
Yeah.
only time will tell. And then our last guy, TJD player.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to throw in a little aside here. I'm curious because I'm looking at this, and you were talking about, when we look back at it, not to bring up old wounds, but I know in our other dynasty league, you took Justin Fields with the 1-5, and I'm just looking at it, and I don't really feel like there's a ton of potential for something like that to happen. Like I don't think there's any super young guys or like huge risks that were taken. Maybe Genty's the first.
I would
Um,
say, yeah,
feels like a
I
pretty
would say
safe
there's a
first round.
lack of value quarterbacks in this latest NFL draft. That feels like I remember Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were going really high in that startup draft because it just felt like who knows these guys feel like they're going to be studs. Interesting, Cam Ward went so late. Yeah, I do think that's interesting. It feels like no one's going to really regret their first round pick.
Yeah. I noticed that as well with Cam Ward. When he went round 4, I was like, whoa, this guy was the number one overall pick. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
The Titans are, no offense, a doo-doo franchise with no weapons. So
Fair.
yeah, but looking at TJ here, um, generally a fan. Don't love Travis Hunter. I think just like how Shadur fell so much, I feel like he got a lot of hype through social media, through people who just watch highlights. I don't think he's gonna really be an elite wide receiver. That's my take. Chase Brown, I like. Zay Flowers, I like. I don't love either of those guys. And Tua, of course, it's just uh, you feel for Tua, but it's like you're going to get 9 games out of Tua. He's going to go through the concussion protocol. It's just tough to really have him as a starting quarterback, I think.
Yeah, I'll say too, I love TJ. I feel bad saying it. I hope I'm wrong. I don't love the team. I also don't love Travis Hunter. I just, he didn't get drafted for his social media because GMs are smarter, but he got
Right,
drafted in large part because of his ability to play defense. And so, is he going to put up the numbers of, I mean, I'm just looking at the other guys around. Like, I mean, AJ Brown, I know is much older, but like Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, it's just hard for me to see him having that kind of production at receiver.
right.
And
Travis Hunter was drafted. He did pick him afterwards, so it'd be like Tet, Rasheed Rice, were more of the guys
I
on his
see.
plate.
I see.
Yeah.
That's my mistake. And
But no, but I agree. I think there's certainly a possibility that Travis Hunter walks out of his training camp as a better cornerback than the wide receiver and
yeah,
plays cornerback instead of wide receiver. And then all of a
like Chase
sudden you've got
Brown doesn't blow me away. Just Bengals are always more of a passing team. I know he can catch, but like Zay Flowers doesn't. Kyle Pitts is so risky. Tua is so risky. I don't love it,
yeah,
but I wish him well.
we shall see. But I guess maybe we'll come back right up to our very first one really quick and just say if you had to pick who's gonna win next year, you got $10 you gotta bet on our winner. Who are you betting on?
It really is between. Oh, all right. I'm gonna do this fast. I'm giving honorable mention to Tucker. Think he's got a well-rounded team. Top three. I think Logan's number three. Good team. Think he's number three. For me, it's between Charlie, whose wide receivers are just awesome, and his running backs can probably give him one good year, and Shitty. And I know this has been more than you asked for, so I'll get to the point. I think I think I gotta go with Chitty. The roster's too
Mm.
stacked. I don't love Charlie's quarterbacks. I think Charlie. No, I'm Chitty. I'm confident Chitty. He's won these leagues before. He starts to actually care. He's got a stacked roster. I'm going with Chitty.
I'm leaning Logan, honestly. I just think if I'm banking on Kyler Murray unlocking something now that he's maybe got a couple of weapons and MHJ and McBride, and I think if Kyler Murray turns into a top 10 fantasy quarterback, Logan's team becomes really, really dominant.
I could see it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our NBA portion here really briefly and look at a couple of these trades that went down.
Yeah, I don't know if there were any blockbusters in the recent days, but this one certainly involved a lot of assets. Who was the other team here besides Logan?
This is TJ. Got the name down at the bottom.
TJ has been making moves. I've half a mind to call
Yes.
him up for another live interview, but I won't. Um,
I
yeah,
like this trade for both sides. I think Logan's trying to contend. So he brings in a guy who's going to put up more points than Rui or Hunter would, a valuable starting position in Brandon Ingram. TJ's trying to rebuild, and so he brings in a lot of picks, a lot of assets, a lot of swings, so to speak, to see if he can hit a home run. So, you know, 3/3, 2 seconds, one of those seconds being a 212 isn't a lot of compensation, but it's sort of potential compensation. You never know what he's going to get. So I think this is one of our more balanced trades we've seen in the league.
yeah, I agree. Very fair. I think some people maybe thought TJ won it just because I think this was the one where Logan was like, TJ has all the picks, and it looks like a lot. When you look at what they actually are, like it's basically 4/3 in a second. Are you
Right.
getting a good player out of any of those? Are Rui and DeAndre ever going to be valuable fantasy guys? But I think with everything that's in this, he can get just enough to equal one Brandon Ingram, who is a good fantasy player, not a world beater.
Right. I think TJ, out of those 5 picks, I feel he's likely to get one solid Brandon Ingram level fantasy player, and then he's got 4 other tries to maybe hit it big. And so I
I will
think this
say
is really good.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I know we're going way too in depth on this trade. It's just I mean the second rounder, that could be the 18th pick. Like you've really Brandon Ingram puts up numbers. Like most NBA guys don't get to that level. They're not great picks. I think he maybe can hit one, but I don't think it's a given at all.
Hmm. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I guess we will. I'll be anxiously following TJ's late round picks now.
And these next two, I believe, are mine.
All
Uh,
right, I'm gonna
Trades I
move
think I
us
did
real
very
quick.
well in.
Yeah, so this is your trade. So walk me through what you were thinking here.
Yeah, I reached out to Char looking at the Paul George. I just wasn't loving my small forward spot. I was rocking Tari Eason with really no depth. So I was thinking older guys who maybe I could grab whose value are low. PG's value is really low. I'm hoping he can bounce back this next year in the wide open Eastern Conference. Jalen Duren, someone that it did kind of hurt to let go, 21 years old, center, very valuable position. But I was able to get two firsts out of Char, which I think is great. One of those is Logan's, so it'll be probably pretty late in the first round pick, but one of them is Char's, and
Yeah.
I really don't believe in Char's team, and so I think I'm going to have a chance here. But Anthony Black and Gouet are flyers, but you never know, and I think Duran really is going to be a solid, kind of maybe not quite a cornerstone, but foundational piece for a rebuilding fantasy team with
Yeah.
Bancaro and Miller and some of these other young guys he's
Yeah,
got.
I think it depends on if one of Anthony Black or Gouye, who I'll admit I have not heard of, can become a decent fantasy asset. I love the fact that you have Charlie's pick next year. I think a lot of his moves have been questionable. He just traded for more younger players, which means he'll probably be worse. I love that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a top six pick next year. And of course, Paul
Hmm.
George will put up numbers for you.
Yeah. And then my second trade, which I really like.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. TJ gave up quite a bit here for one first round pick. Is that your first?
That is my first. Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be that good. I mean, you have been stacking assets in the recent days. Like, I don't know if you're winning the championship, but you've been getting a lot of players who can contribute. Um, I think maybe Michael Porter's the worst. I know Markkinen and Wiggins, I feel like can both start in fantasy lineups pretty confidently.
Shockingly, MPJ is the best score out of those. He's like 79th overall. Paul George was 72nd. Markkinen's 93rd, and Wiggins was, I think, 101st.
That is shocking. I mean, I'm gonna have to fact check here real quick. Yeah, I don't know. I just think TJ gave up a lot for what might amount to being like the ninth or tenth pick. Leonard Miller was like a second round pick in real life. I don't know that he's ever really gonna be much, with all due respect to Leonard.
Yeah, one of those seconds is Tucker's second, so it's likely going to be like a 212 or something like that.
Yeah, so
Effectively
I'm
a
leaning
third.
you on this one. I think you got 2 seconds and three good players for one first and no good players. TJ better do something magical with that first round pick, is all I'm saying.
I do think I came away the winner here. The thing though to consider is there's a difference between uh, what a value is worth versus what he's actually going to get for it. Like Wiggins, Market, and Porter, and 2 seconds combined maybe have more value than a first, but he's not going to get a first for Wiggins. He'd maybe get a second, probably a third. Same with Market and same with Porter. Just like, would you rather have a whole bunch of seconds or a first? Because even if it is the 109, you would probably argue that's more valuable. So it's just how much small chunks do you have to get for it to be worth more than a larger chunk,
That's
like a
fair.
first.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he probably wasn't going to be able to do a lot with these guys individually, so I respect the move. I still don't think he got the best of it.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, I reckon we go on because I can't end until I'm looking at thank you for watching the Mousetrap. There it is. Thanks for watching, not thank you for watching. I don't know ball. Yeah, appreciate you guys. I love that we went through every team. I know sometimes in the past we skim things, so hopefully you enjoyed our look at your team. Isaac, any big takeaways from the draft? Anything we didn't mention you think is important to note?
I'm just curious, over under 7.5 days to finish.
Ooh, fun ending question.
4 hours a pick. Evan is in there. Chitty is in there. Nixon is in there. We're looking at least 2 to 3 hours per pick for those guys.
I I am gonna say over under 7.5 days. So roughly next Thursday slash Friday. We're late Thursday,
Right.
so really next Friday morning. Um, I think we can finish by next Friday morning. I think we can get through a round a day, especially if we're blowing up people's phones. And if we do that, we're on round 15. I think there's like 20 to 22 rounds total. I just think we can really get it moving. If we can do 2 rounds a day, I think it's possible. Maybe I'm an optimist, but I'm going to take the under.
I'll take the over just to be a contrarian. But I think that will likely be the date of our next podcast is a final draft ranking, um, going over final teams. And
I can't
Yeah.
wait to see now the result of this over under. I'm excited.
Mhm.
But yeah, any big
Oh,
picks in the draft
drop
while we
drop your
were.
picks in the chat, in the comment section, guys, on YouTube, whether you think it's going to be over under 7.5, and who do you guys think is going to win the league next year?
Yeah, and subscribe, of course, as always. I think we're up to 2 subscribers, so
Yeah.
appreciate you guys for that.
Ring those
I'm just
bells,
checking to
like
make
and
sure. I'm checking to make sure there have been no big picks since we started recording. No, Hawkinson was the last one. Draft has been paused by Drake, and he is logged off for the night. Appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. We at the Mousetrap sincerely appreciate it.
we'll see y'all later.